Have you ever felt stuck in a situation with no way out? Like your life has hit a dead end? What if I told you there's a hidden message that can turn despair into hope? Ezekiel's vision in the Valley of Dry Bones holds a powerful revelation that might change the way you view the hardest moments in your life. In this video, you'll discover how this ancient prophecy reveals secrets about overcoming challenges, spiritual renewal, and a fresh start that few people know about. If you've ever faced loss, tough times, or feel like you're directionless, stick around until the end, because what you're about to learn could be the key to turning it all around. Ready? Let's dive in. Ezekiel was called at a crucial time during Israel's exile in Babylon, a period of deep suffering. Imagine living in a foreign land, far from everything you know, watching your identity fade away. That was the reality for the people of Israel, who, after so much destruction, wondered if they'd ever find redemption. Ezekiel, as a wise leader, felt the weight of this responsibility when he was chosen to deliver a message not only of reprimand, but also of hope. After all, in the midst of chaos, they needed to believe something greater was on the horizon. The message he brought wasn't easy to hear. The people were hurt, disillusioned, and above all, doubtful. How do you hold on to faith when everything around you is falling apart? Ezekiel understood that true faith isn't tested in peaceful times, but in the darkest moments. He spoke with authority, reminding them that sometimes pain is necessary for deeper spiritual growth. Just like someone who loses everything and finds new strength in the ashes, Israel needed to go through the fire before they could rise again. If we look around, we can see this same lesson in our own lives. In tough times, we often think everything is lost. But what Ezekiel taught his people is still relevant today. When things hit rock bottom, it's the perfect moment for a turnaround. Think of someone who, after losing their job, discovers a new passion and builds something bigger than they ever imagined. Ezekiel knew that despite the destruction, a divine reconstruction was already in motion. The exile, while painful, would be temporary. Ezekiel planted this seed of hope in the hearts of the people, preparing them for what was coming next. He knew something deeper was unfolding, something they might not understand at the time, but that would make sense later on. Little did they know, Ezekiel was about to have a vision that would completely change how they saw their future. When Ezekiel had the vision of the Valley of Dry Bones, he saw a desolate scene. Bones scattered everywhere, dry and lifeless, a clear symbol of despair and spiritual death. What he saw represented more than just Israel's physical destruction. It was a reflection of the people's spirit, who had lost all hope. Imagine looking at a valley covered in bones, each one telling a story of suffering, abandonment, and loss. But Ezekiel knew there was something hidden in that eerie silence. The vision wasn't meant to shock or scare, it had a purpose. Sometimes you have to face the raw truth to understand what's really at stake. The dry bones symbolized a people who, after so much suffering, had disconnected from their own essence. Ezekiel saw an opportunity to wake them up, to spark deep reflection about Israel's state of mind. In many moments in life, we face our own valleys of dry bones, where everything seems pointless. But like Ezekiel, can we see what comes next? Ezekiel didn't just see the bones, he felt the responsibility to act. Just like in our lives, when we see something that needs to change, we can't just stand by. Ezekiel's calling was to bring transformation, even when everything seemed beyond any hope of repair. He knew the answer was coming, but first, he had to face the reality of the spiritual death that was consuming Israel. How many times do we ignore the signs that something inside us is dying? It was in that moment of silence and death that the true revelation began to form. The dry bones wouldn't stay that way forever, and Ezekiel had a crucial role in this process of transformation. He didn't know exactly how yet, but the path was starting to unfold before him. The next step would be vital, and something was about to happen that would change everything he had seen so far. When God commanded Ezekiel to prophesy over the dry bones, something extraordinary began to happen. As Ezekiel spoke, the bones started to move, coming back together and regaining life. Picture this. Bones that were once scattered and purposeless, now aligning in perfect sync. This moment symbolized not just Israel's physical restoration, but also the spiritual renewal that was on its way. Through Ezekiel's words, God showed the power of prophecy, the ability to bring back to life what seemed beyond repair. This restoration teaches us something profound. No matter how lost something may seem, there's always the possibility of rebuilding. Just like the bones started to come together, our lives can take a new direction, even after the hardest setbacks. Think of someone who, after a major loss or failure, finds the strength to start over. Ezekiel's prophecy reminds us that when we're aligned with a higher vision, the impossible becomes possible. Sometimes all we need is the right word, at the right time, to guide us back to the path of restoration. And this restoration wasn't just physical. As tendons and flesh began to cover the bones, it symbolized that God was taking care of every detail. He doesn't just rebuild, He restores with perfection. In our lives, how many times do we try to put the pieces back together, but without divine guidance, something still feels missing? Ezekiel knew that each bone that moved represented hope returning to Israel, and this could only happen through God's direct intervention. Restoration isn't just about fixing what's broken, it's about creating something new and whole. However, even with the bones restored, something was still missing. Ezekiel saw that the bodies were complete, but lifeless. This shows us that physical or material restoration isn't enough. We need something deeper, something spiritual. And this is where Ezekiel's prophecy would become even more powerful, as the next step wasn't just to bring back form, but also the spirit. The physical restoration of the dry bones was just the beginning. God had an even bigger plan for the people of Israel: to renew their spirit. Ezekiel witnessed the moment when the divine breath brought life to those restored bodies, showing that it's not just form that matters. It's the spirit that gives true meaning to existence. That breath was more than just air. It represented a renewal of faith, a reconnection with what truly matters. Just like the bodies in the valley, the people of Israel would receive not just a second chance to exist, but a new reason to live. The spiritual renewal that Ezekiel witnessed echoes through to this day. How many times do we feel lost, even when everything around us seems fine? The truth is, without purpose, without a deeper connection, we still feel empty. Ezekiel's vision teaches us that there's always an opportunity to start over, but that renewal has to come from within. Like in our lives, it's not enough to just fix what's broken on the outside. The real transformation happens when our spirit is renewed. Think of modern life, where we're constantly chasing material goals, but often neglect what's inside. Spiritual renewal is like that necessary pause to breathe and reconnect with what truly matters. It's like refueling our life's energy. Ezekiel knew that without this renewal, the people of Israel would never find true redemption. This lesson is just as valuable for us today. Sometimes the greatest healing we need isn't visible to the eye. At the end of this vision, one thing became clear. Physical restoration was just the start of a new journey. The real power lay in spiritual renewal and the hope for a different future. Ezekiel, through this vision, taught us that faith not only keeps us standing in times of crisis, but also gives us a new reason to move forward. But the journey wasn't over yet. There was one more crucial element in this story of renewal, something that would reveal the true force behind this transformation. Ezekiel's vision in the Valley of Dry Bones revealed something extraordinary: the immense power of God's Word and His Spirit. When Ezekiel prophesied, it was God's Word that set the restoration of the bones in motion, showing that His words aren't just sounds, they carry the very essence of life. Just like a breath can reignite a flame that's almost gone out, God's Word has the power to restore what seems lost, whether physically or spiritually. Ezekiel, with his mission, understood that God's Word was the key to transforming that desolate valley into a living testimony of renewal. This power of the Word teaches us that true transformation doesn't happen just through physical actions, but through the strength of the Spirit. How many times in life do we speak or hear words that seem empty? Ezekiel reminds us that when we align our words with something greater, we can change not only our destiny, but also the destiny of those around us. A simple gesture, a word of encouragement, can have a profound impact, reviving hope in someone who's already lost it. The same thing happened with Israel in that valley. God's word brought life where there was once only death. Along with the word, God's Spirit was the final and essential element in this restoration. Even with the bodies reassembled, the breath of life, the Spirit that would bring purpose, movement, and existence, was still missing. This makes us reflect on our own lives. How many times do we build something, achieve our goals, but still feel like something's missing? Without the Spirit, even the greatest achievements can feel empty. What Ezekiel saw was a reminder that true fulfillment comes when the Spirit is present, when the divine touches the human. Through this vision, Ezekiel taught us that God's power lies in both His Word and His Spirit, and that power isn't confined to the past. Today, just like back then, it can restore, renew, and transform what once seemed impossible. But like any transformation, this process requires surrender, faith, and most importantly, an openness to receive what comes from God. Ezekiel's journey reached this crucial point, where the understanding of divine power became even more evident. But the true realization of this would lead the people of Israel to complete renewal. Now that you've uncovered the mystery of the Valley of Dry Bones and the power behind this incredible prophecy, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Is it time to take a look at your own life and realize that even in moments of deepest despair, renewal is possible? Challenge yourself to apply these lessons in the coming days, rethinking the areas of your life that need restoration. And when you start to see the first signs of transformation, come back here and share in the comments. I want to hear how this message impacted your journey. Oh, and before you go, have you heard of Baal, this hidden enemy of Israel who for centuries kept the people away from God? In the next video, I'll tell you who Baal was and how he became such a dangerous threat. Don't miss it. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and get ready to uncover more of the Bible's hidden mysteries.